Today we're doing the Girl from Ipanema, Antonio Carlos Jobim song. It's a very common little bossa nova beat. Before we start, we're going to learn the chords. I'm going to actually start on the key of C. It's going to be easier to look at all these chords in the key of C here for just a second. And the first chord I'm going to make is going to ignore the sixth string. We'll start on C with my second finger, E and A on the fourth and third strings. We're going to be playing with one finger here. So I'm going to use a ba, and then I'll put my third finger down on D. So I've got C on 3, E and A on 2, and then D on 3 again. So this is a C. Now, if I were to just use my stupid little scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, C to E. That's the major third. This was making this major. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6 is the little boogie woogie note, and everybody likes the 6. Remember, the 6 is almost a chord tone. And then this note, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the 9, and the 9 makes everything pretty. So C and E are making this major. A is giving us a nice little color, making it a 6. And the D is given a really nice color, making it a 9. So I call this a C6-9 chord. Now I could put my pinky in the tippy top, because that gives me a G note. Or I could put the G down here, which is the 5th of the C, D, E, F, G is the 5th. But I'm not going to need that note. And for the way I'm going to play this song, the way that I think it's easiest to teach with the voicings, I'm just going to play this with 3 fingers. Instead of playing this complete chord, I'll play a semi-incomplete chord. I don't need that note. And I think this is a very unusual chord, because usually chords are built in thirds, root, third, fifth, and then a root. Of course, that's a fourth from the fifth to the root, but usually chords are built in thirds. But here, I'm putting in that A note. So if I had a C6 chord, if you know this chord, that's great. If you don't, that's fine as well. I still hear this pretty much as C, because I've got 2 C's in here. If I had a C chord with a D note in it, then that's just a little bit of this with a little bit of color. But when I put both color notes on it, 6 and 9, it gets a little more ambiguous. Those are fourths, and these 3 notes right here can be 10 different chords, and there's only 12 notes. So this can be a lot of different stuff, and it can be a very modern sound. It's hard to tell whether this is major or minor. Right, so there's a whole little lesson on that. Let's not worry about it right now. Let's just take for granted that this is kind of a hip sound, a little unusual. It's hipper than just a normal C chord or normal C6 or C9, because you've got the 6-9. So it's an unusual chord already. Then the next chord I'm going to do is this, which is a C major. And the 7th, instead of that 6, I'm putting a 7th. Now that's really a flat 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flat 7, do, do, do. And then still have the 9 up here. Now probably you've played this chord as what I call the James Brown chord. Once again, I can always bar that top string, because anything I can put in the bass, I can put in the tippy top, for the most part. So this would be C6-9 with a tippy top note, and this is C dominant 9 with a tippy top note with a ba. But on both of these voicings, I'm not going to use the tippy top string. I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to replace the third string third finger comes to the third string, and C7 with a 9. Cool. Now what's making this major? Country roads, road to hell. So I'm going to flat that E and still put in this 7th and the 9. So this would be called a C7-9, but it's a minor. So a C minor 7-9. You don't really have to say the 7ths when we get into 9s. I would just call this C9 and this C minor 9. It's implied that the 7th's going to be there. But people go to school in different ways, and they call things different ways. So to make really darn sure, I'm going to call this C7 with a 9 on my chart, and this C minor 7 with a 9. This is the note that's making it minor. This is the 9th. That's an interesting interval right there. This is the octave. So if I were to take this, first of all, I'm just going to take this finger off and move that pinky up. That is a C minor 7th, because it's got this flat third. I just don't put it there because that makes my poor little wrist crooked. I could put it there and just keep my wrist straight. But that's too much work, and I don't need that note twice. So this is going to be a C minor 7th. It's just basically a C minor bar chord, but without this note and without the tippy top note. 3-note version of it. You might recognize this from shape, what I call shape number 2, if we've done our 6 shapes. This would be a G7 chord, just like a G bar chord, but this has an abbreviated version. I'm not playing that note, and I'm not playing the top 2 notes. So shape number 2, this is a G. There's the 7th, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7th. When I say 7th, unless I say major 7th, I mean flat 7th. And this is the B, which is making it major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, 2, 3. So this is G7, and it looks just like C minor 7 on the wrong set of strings. Just like a C minor 7th bar chord looks like G7 down here. Well, these are just abbreviated versions of it. It's kind of nice to have my birdie finger in the bass. We'll find out why later. Maybe not in this video. So this is G7, root, flat 7, 3rd. And sometimes I'm going to call this the whammy note, G7 sharp 11. Right? If this is my G, then that must be my 5th, according to bass players. So this is my 5th, so this would be a flat 5th. So you could call this G7 flat 5, or you could call this G7 sharp 4. You can think of it as a flat 5 or sharp 4, because a flat, right here I am, flat 5 is the same as a sharp 4. Comes to the same note. Or you could think of it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, sharp 11, G7 sharp 11. Technically, I think that's the best name for it, G7 sharp 11, but this isn't about tensions. All you have to learn is just 5 chords, 4 chords, 6 chords. We want C6-9, and that's a good major, although a little bizarre, a little ambiguous and exotic sounding, but so is Brazil, right? That's ambiguous and exotic, to me at least. C dominant 9, or C9, C7 9. C minor 9, which is a good jazz fusion chord, and then C minor 7. Right there. And then this looks like G7, or what I'll call G7 sharp 11, whammy. And these should all be on that sheet, so those are your 5 chords. Did I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chords. Absolutely, because I made the sheet. D flat. This song is going to be in the key of D flat. And I'm going to start on a 6-9. So instead of a boring old major chord, major 7 could work. A 6 could work. And those are all great sounds, but I think this is the best chord, and that's what the Gilberto guy's playing. And I'm going to show you a basic bossa nova beat. Now, they're not doing this on the recording. On the recording, he's just kind of mimicking what he's singing. He's like, dum, do, 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 and he sort of changes the rhythm. This would be hard to sing and play at the same time. But I'm going to show you a basic bossa rhythm, which is going to go boom, chick, boom, boom, chick. So the thing about a bossa rhythm is it's syncopated. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, it goes 1, 2, and 3, and 3, 4, and 1. That's your basic bossa bass rhythm. Although I'm going to take out the last little da-das and just go 1, 2, and 3, boom, That's what I'm going to do for the rhythm. I mean the bass, and then the chords are going to go note, chord, note, note, chord, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So I'm going to hit 1, and then 2, and is a pull. Now I'm only going to be pulling with these 3 fingers. Where's my camera? So I'm going to hit my thumb. Remember, get your thumb out first. You don't want your thumb back. You can't play fingerstyle like this. Well, you can. I just did. That's silly. Put your thumb first and your hands more like this, or it's curved. Try not to bend your wrist too much, but there's a little dangle to your angle here. And it's going to be note, chord, note, note, chord, hit, chord. At the very last, I'm going to go 4 and. 4 is my backbeat, like 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 2s and the 4s are the backbeats. 1, 2. So the first time I pull in the backbeat, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So I'm hitting, but when I hit, I make sure that I land inside the strings so I can pull. I don't hit like this, because then I won't be able to pull my strings. So when I hit, so if you can see that here, I'm really inside the string so I can just pull. This is why I take lessons. 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and hit, pull. 1, 2 and 3 and hit, pull. 1, 2 and 3 and pull and. So 1, 2 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and a lot of upbeats. This is called syncopation, and that's what makes this a little bit more exotic rhythmically. Harmonically, this makes it exotic by using this chord. It's a little weird to our Western ears, and rhythmically, it's a lot of upbeats. Do that for 2 measures. Then I move up to the 2 chord, which in this key would be E flat, and do a nice 9th chord. Then I make it sad, and then I move it down a half step, and then I go home. And then I ask a question, ba, ba, which is the same chord, just moved up with a ba, ba. So this is the first A section once again. E flat 9, stretchy. Everybody down. Now see how I went from this stretch chord. Pretty. Right. Now if I'm in the key of D flat, and majority of you guys aren't going to understand this, I don't really care. I don't really care about most of you. No, I care about each and every one of you. If you don't understand this, it doesn't really matter. In jazz, the building blocks of jazz are 2, 5, 1, right? Love for sale, yummy, gushy, appetizing love for sale. I've got you under my house, right? Love that song. D flat major 7, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, deep in a part of me. 2, 5, 1. Boom, 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 circle of fifths. But he's gonna do a 2 minor 9, if that's fancy enough. This is just a little hipper, because 9s make everything hipper. And this is 2, 5, 1. And that's like a circle of fifths going what I call the long way home. Building blocks of jazz. Minor 7th, dominant 7th, major 7th. But he's going to go 2 minor, flat 2, 1. This is what I call taking the shortcut home. Boom, boom, boom. I start here, and I want to go here, so I walk there. But it's a little darker, although much richer. I like darkness. And then I move down to this chord. Now, if you've been to jazz school, you know that's a tritone substitute. If you haven't been to jazz school, I'm going to charge you extra money for that. So this would be a 2 minor, a flat 2 dominant, and then a 1, 6, 9. So this is just infinitely more interesting than, not infinitely, if I could pronounce that word. It's a little hipper than a normal minor 7th chord. This is all kinds of hipper than A flat, normal, a D9 chord. It's a D flat, and this is cool, but that's even hipper. So all 3 of these chords are richer. They've all got 9s. Versus these are just root 3rds, 5ths, and 7ths. Major 7ths, minor 3rds, whatever the case may be. But this is hipper. A little more bizarre, a little more unusual to our Western ears. So how to play this song, and then a ba 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 doo, and that's the first ending. And you might even use that for a vamp at the end. What's the furthest you can be away from a right note? Half step. So when I do this, that's a pretty big deal to go a half step. Now a lot of players will play a ninth, like that shape, the second chord we talked about, but with a flat 5 here. Doesn't see, just doesn't see. And technically, I think that chord is really what should be going on, and that's the way modern players play this. Remember, everybody's changed this. Most people play this in the key of F. It was originally in the key of D flat, or at least the original version that I know of is in D flat. So when you change keys, sometimes you find different voicings, and plus the song, is 50 years old by now. So things mutate a little bit, and the way they played it 50 years ago might be different than the way people play it now. It's kind of that telephone game where you start out with one thing, and by the time the 30th person's told the story, it's a totally different story. Same thing with chord changes. So I'm basing this lesson off of what I hear him doing, which is this. But I think other people are playing this chord, which is a little hipper. But this is plenty hip the way it is. So the first time, since all the A sections will start on D flat, a great way to turn it around would just be to do a half step above it and then back to the song again, again and again. Stretch, close, and home. Now the second time I just stay on that because the bridge is, or the B section is going to go someplace else. So the first time I wanted to do something different to bring me back to here. But then the second time I don't want to do anything different. I want to stay here. And then the bridge starts a half step, which is very jarring to our ears. But we're going to find out it's not so jarring when we look at the melody. D 6/9, 2 measures. Now I move to G7. Cool. And it's just that 3-note chord, what I call shape number 2, but on the bottom string, G7. So I started on D, so I'm in the key of D flat, and I just modulated on yourself, didn't I? And then I go to G7, and then when I come back, I go to D minor. So I've changed keys again, because I'm no longer in D major. Da 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 da. I go to B flat 7. So instead of, I had D 6/9, go down a fifth to G7, a little bluesy, and then minor 9. But then move up to the B flat chord, just 3-note chords. E flat minor 9, stretchy. B7. Cool. Now, so far everything's been 2 measures a piece, but now I'm going to go a little quicker and do 1 measure a piece because I need to get home. I'm going to go caddy corner, which I call this caddy corner. It's a southern thing maybe. And I'm going to do F minor 7 because each day when she walks to the sea. And I'm going to do B flat 7, but I'm going to throw this whammy note on, which we'll find out was a sharp 11, but we'll find out it's in the melody in just a second. And then F minor 7 to A flat 7. So that is bum, 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 circle of fifths. If you wanted to be fancy, you could call this a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. But it's all about the circle of fifths till I get back home. This is home, what's the fifth of that? This, what's the fifth of that? What's the fifth of that? What's the fifth of that? So I'm going to go, does each day when she walks to the sea. So I'm going to have F minor 7 for 1 measure, B flat 7, but with the whammy note, sharp 11. E flat minor 7, A flat 7 with the whammy note, sharp 11. And then I go back to an A section. And I'm going to do this anytime I'm going to go back to the D flat. I'm going to go, I might vamp out with that. She just doesn't see. Right, just tinkle. What are they called? Be aware, it's their darn song. They get to record it any way they want to. They don't always do that between sections. I think of anytime you do a I call this A1 or A first inning. So I'd go A1, so we go back to here, and then A2. And A2, I just stay there for 2 measures. So I can move someplace new for the bridge or the B section. And then at the end of the last A section, I'll call it A1 again because I'm going to go ba, ba. And so I can start the whole darn thing again right there. But be aware, they don't always do that. I'm not sure if there's rhyme or reason. I guess if I listened to it a little bit one more time and wrote it down, I'd figure it out. I think if you play this with people, everybody does this as a first ending or a third ending, the last ending, or as a vamp out. But on the recording, they don't always do that chord. I'm just saying that. It's their song. They get to do it any way they want to. So don't let that throw you off. Melodically, what's going on here is this melody starts on the 9. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this voicing. Da. So this is my scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 7, 6. Now in the key of D flat, wink, wink, what's the most home bass note? D flat, which is right here, right? If I had a D flat triad. But what a boring note to use as a melody, right? So they're using almost every note except the root. They're going 9, 7, 7, 6. And that's the rhythm. It's 1, 2, and 3, 4, ba, 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 da, da. Very syncopated. If you wanted to, you could do your little 6-9 chord here and use your pinky note. And you sort of get the melody there. That's going to be a little trickier on the next chord. Then the next chord is E flat, and he does the same notes. E flat, motivic development. Then he goes to E flat minor. And then this, and then, so there's a neat little thing that's happening here. So you see the melody's really matching these voicings perfectly, and that's why I'm going to do these voicings with you. And then all that again, da 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 da, again, da 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 da. Now, ba da da da. Same rhythm but different notes. Different note. Different notes. And it ends on the 5th of the scale. No charge for that? Nice to know the melody. It's right out of the major scale. But it doesn't sound super boring. It might sound super boring because you've ridden too many elevators in your life. And you've heard this song, too many weddings in your life or whatever. But I don't think it's boring because it's not, it's on the root. On the D, that would be sort of a boring, but it's on very rich notes on the 9 and the major 7 and the 6. Those are very interesting notes over a major chord. Same rhythm, and then we change the notes. Sorry. And then on the bridge, it starts on D, which is pretty jarring because you're in the key of D flat. And all of a sudden, we're up here, right? Now here's the D flat. That was the note we didn't use on the D flat chord before. The neat thing about this, though, is if I made a D major, and this is all extra credit. You could have shut this video off 10 minutes ago and gotten what I wanted you to get out of this video. Just learn how to play the damn song. That's all I want. If you made a D major 7, like pinky, 3, stretch, not stretch really, but 1, 1, 1. 5, 4, 2, 2, 2. That's a D major 7. I'm going to stop on the 2nd string right here. That's D flat, or in this key I'd think of it as a C sharp, but that's D flat. See, on the D flat chord, that's the root. But then when I move this chord up, I don't put that note in, I put the D flat note still in there. So here it's the root or the octave. Here it's a major 7. And this is a very, very slick move they do. So the chords could not get any jarrier. And that's a word because we just made it up. Jarrier. Jarrier. Cool. But melodically, it's going to start on the root. The note that I've wanted to hear all along, it finally starts once the chord moves. But it's hip. So now it starts on the major 7. And then I go to the G7. But I put that little A note. Cool. But it starts on this major 7. And listen to that rhythm. Bum, da ba ba boo ba boo do do do. And then when you go to the D minor 9, it starts instead of down here, it's going to start here. Same pattern of notes, but moved up a minor 3rd, and it starts on the 9 of the chord. That's another reason why I'm playing this voicing. Sloppily, but I'm playing it. It starts on the minor 9. So before I started on the major 7 of the D, but now I'm on the D minor and I start on the 9. And I go up to this, which was the same lick I did on the G, but now on B flat. I'm just using my first finger to get that 3rd string in before I put my pinky down. Cool? So, dum, da 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 da, bum, ba 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 ba. One more, we get egg roll. With 3, you get egg roll, right? So now I'm going to go to E flat minor 9. Same lick that I did on the D minor 9. You don't have to do, if you can't get those chords and play this at the same time, I don't care. B7. And then up to this F minor, and that's my melody note where my pinky is. And it stops on that whammy note before it goes to this. Very unusual, these sharp 11s. These aren't really supposed to be in the scale. Because each day when she walks to the sea, she looks straight ahead, not at he. Weird. So F minor 7, B flat 7. Westerners are totally used to that. But this, do 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 D. That note's not supposed to be in the scale. Do 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 do. So cool. So we did the motivic wise on the bridge. Da 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 do da do 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 do. That's the rhythm. Now I do the same rhythm but on different notes, on different, because I've changed to a minor chord. Instead of doing, I'm up here, which are the same darn notes except moved up, but the root note still stays the same. That's why it's, once again, the melodies. Well, this time the chords, well, it's changed from major to minor, but the root note stayed, but the melodies have changed. Whereas before, when we went into the bridge, the melody stayed there while the root note changed. If you get any of that, that's just all extra credit. That's awesome. If you don't really care. The main thing is be able to play the song, listen to the original version, watch out for first and second endings that they don't always do that. When you play with other people, realize that they might even throw in a different shape there with a flat 5 on that 9 chord. That's weird. If you don't get it, you're not ready to get it. So go do something else. But I think you should be able, everybody that I'm going to send this to should start to be able to do these basic 6 shapes. Even if you just get the first half, it's very addictive. You can just do that, until you get that solid. Don't even try for the bridge. But then the bridge is not that hard. Okay, the bridge is totally hard because I can't even do it. I'm sorry. I should edit these things. I'm not going to. It kind of just keeps changing keys until I get up to here, and with the whammy note, and I take the little way home, and now I'm back to home. Cool. Hope you enjoy that.